Good day everyone, I am Mia Abdul and today I will be reporting about incorporation and organization of private corporations, particularly in Section 10. So in Section 10, we will be tackling about the number and qualifications of incorporators. So who are these eligible incorporators? So the role of an incorporator is foundational, establishing a corporation's legal existence, and it is open to diverse entities. And who are these diverse entities that could compose a corporation? So the types of entities include any person, or referring to all natural persons, which must be of legal age, 18 years old and above. Second would be in a form of partnership, and then we've got association and corporation. So let's move to the key considerations. Since we already know about these types of entities that compose of an incorporator, now let's go to the key considerations. So understanding specific numeric and structural requiremements is crucial. And since we already know about the types of entities that an incorporator could have been, now let's go to the qualifications of being an incorporator. So what are the qualifications in becoming an incorporator? So in forming a corporation, it must be up to 15 individuals or entities who may act as incorporators. And in terms of a stock corporation, each individual or entity must own or subscribe at least one share, because that's one of the qualifications of being an incorporator. Also, when an incorporator is formed with a single stockholder or simpler structure, which referring to single owner, then this can be called as one-person corporation or OPC. And lastly would be the professional corporations. So in this type of corporation, there are restrictions apply, in which special laws must be followed. Now, let's proceed to the steps in incorporation, the verification and documentation. The first step is the name verification process. So what is included in this process? So it is stated in here that in verifying the name of an incorporation, you can register it, or you can verify it through online or via SEC or the Securities and Exchange Commission Name Verification Unit, because it was stated or stipulated in Section 17 of the Revised Corporation Code that it mandates a unique and compliant name, which ensures a distinguishability and legal compliance, because it is crucial that an incorporation must have a unique name which is different and distinguishable from other incorporations, because through this it can avoid confusion from other incorporation. So the second step is drafting articles of incorporation. So it was stipulated in here that all documents must be signed by all incorporators, because it is in adherence to Section 13 and 14 that define corporate structure and purpose. And these fundamental steps are crucial for establishing your legal corporate entity. So third step would be filing articles of incorporation. It legally establishes your corporation by submitting foundational documents to the designated authorities. So in filing the articles of your incorporation, it must be submitted to the Securities and Exchange Commission or the state regulatory body, since it formalizes legal existence, and through filing the articles of incorporation, it becomes a public record. And there are also required fees in filing the articles of incorporation. So this required fees overview, it covers the administrative and legal costs associated with the initial incorporation process. So what are these fees that you need to pay in filing the articles of incorporation? Well, it covers the statutory filing fees, the legal research charges, and the miscellaneous administrative fees. There are also mandatory supporting documents that we need to comply in filing the Articles of Incorporation. So first will be the verification slip, authorizing the use of the corporate name obtained above. The second mandatory supporting document would be the joint affidavit of two incorporators to change corporate name unless the undertaking to change the corporate name is already stated in the Articles of Incorporation. Then we've got endorsement or clearance if it is applicable, and it can be obtained from the Department of the Securities and Exchange Commission or other government agencies. Lastly would be the treasurer's affidavit, to the effect that the paid-up portion of the subscription in cash or in property for the benefit and credit of the corporate. This could result to embracing digital efficiency, modern option for submitting incorporation documents and subsequent amendments securely. The articles and amendments can be filed electronically. Now let's proceed to the issuance of Certificate of Incorporation. So as an operative act, it confers juridical personality. An issuance of Certificate of Incorporation establishes separate legal entity, and it limits shareholder liability, and also it is essential for business recognition. And for the commencement of existence, it starts from the certificate date. The company's birth certificate authorizes legal operation, and it initiates corporate compliance. Now let's proceed to the kinds of franchise. So we've got two kinds of franchise, the primary franchise and then the secondary franchise. So first, let's talk about this primary franchise for corporate. So this primary franchise, it is also known as corporate franchise, and it refers to the right and privilege granted by the state to exist as a corporation and to do such things as are authorized by the charter of the corporation, and it is vested in the individuals who compose the corporation, and it is conferred by the Certificate of Incorporation, which serves as an official document for legal existence, since legality establishes your corporation and it proves its existence. And this is the purpose of the primary franchise, which talks about the Certificate of Incorporation. So the second one will be the secondary franchise. So this refers to the different rights, privileges, and powers which are obtained by the corporation and which are not a prerequisite to corporate existence, meaning it is granted only for specific operational powers beyond functions. So what are this? So this secondary franchise, it is for operational powers and for specific services only. So like for example is when occupying public spaces for utilities such as power and water. So this secondary franchise could be useful. And another would be about operating specific services such as messenger delivery. So to sum it up, here are the key takeaways. So first is we tackle about the multi-step legal process, which includes filing of articles of incorporation with the state, and then appoint a registered agent, prepare a corporate bylaws, and then hold the first board meeting. And these are crucial for juridical personality because this serves as an official birth certificate which brings a corporation to life, granting it as a separate legal entity and protecting shareholders from personal liability. And to define incorporator roles, the role of an incorporator is primarily administrative, temporary, and foundational with clear qualifications, including First is that it must be at least 18 years old and legal competent, and then it can be of individuals or legal entities such as law firms, and then lastly is that its role ends upon formal registration and director appointment. So for the primary and secondary franchise, first is the primary franchise, which talks about the fundamental right granted by the state to exist and act as a corporation, and for the secondary franchise, referring to the special rights and privileges granted by government but not essential for corporate existence. And that ends my topic, and the continuation for section 10 will be discussed by my groupmates.